What is a variable in Java? What is it? What is a variable in Java? Tell me quickly.
The data type.
Can you speak a little bit louder?
Variables are the data types.
Variable?
Are the data types.
Variable means the data types. Variable is a data type. Okay, right. What are the other answers we have? Variable are data types we have. Not Chatspute, I want you to talk, okay? Because now we all are, I assume this is a professional development program. This goes as a professional program. Therefore, I believe that everyone is here to learn and not to judge anyone. Therefore, we have to talk. Yes. Variable is a data type. Okay. That was the first answer. What are the other answers we have?
Allocated space in memory.
Allocated space in the memory. Okay, variable is an allocated space in memory. Okay, very good. For what purpose we use it? For what purpose?
To store data.
Yes, variable is allocated space in the memory to store data. Right, good. Okay, that we can take as a definition for what is a variable in Java. Variable is an allocated space in memory to store data, to store values. Is it to store values temporarily or permanently?
Both.
To store values temporarily or permanently. What do you mean by permanently?
It can be used throughout the whole script. And in temporary, it's only within that certain method.
Okay, that's what you mean by. Okay, in that perspective, yes, but like normally, even that value will be stored only until the program is running. Therefore, it's to store values temporarily, we can say. In general, yes, according to what you have mentioned, yes, like if it is variables can keep the values until the entire program finishes or a certain method finishes. Yes, likewise, you can argue. Okay, right. Then like how we can declare a variable? Do we need to declare a variable first? Do we have to declare a variable first?
Good morning, sir. Yes, we need to.
We have to declare a variable first, yes. Okay, how can we declare the variable? How can we declare a variable? Is there any specific pattern or a specific way to do that? To declare a variable?
From data types.
Yes, first you need to define the data type and the
Value.
and then the name. Yes, data type and the variable name. Yes, you have to use the data type and then the variable name. Yes, you have to use the data type, whatever the data type, and the variable name, type and the variable name. And at the end, you can put a semicolon. Right, now what are the data types available? When you talk about Java, basically there are two types of variables available in Java. What are those? What are the variable types in Java? What are the variable types in Java?
Primitive and reference variables.
Yes, very good. Primitive data types and the Reference data types. Yes. Can someone please tell me what's the difference between primitive and a reference data type? Or what is primitive? What is reference? What is a primitive data type?
So primitive data types, they handle the data directly.
Primitive handle the data directly. Okay. All right. Okay. What else? Okay. Right. Now, okay. Let's talk about that later. Right now, tell me. Okay. Now we are talking about the primitive and the reference data types. No? Right. Then, what are the primitive data types? How many primitive data types available in Java? How many primitive data types available in Java? We discussed last time, I guess.
Eight.
There are 8 primitive data types. Very good. What are those? What are those? What are the 8 primitive data types?
Byte, short,
Right. Byte, short, what else?
float,
We have
double,
4 integer types we discussed. Byte, short. What are the other 2?
float, double.
Okay, those are not integers, no? What are the
Oh.
integer types? Int, long, and then what are the decimal types we have? Float, double. Then what else we have?
Char.
Char, one more. What is it?
Boolean.
Boolean. Yes, exactly. And now we discussed that there are 8 primitive data types, and they are mainly you can have data primitive versus reference types. There are when it comes to primitive, yes, primitive has 8 data types. There are 8 primitive data types, and we have the reference data types. Right now, okay, now we can say this is the primitive data types, right? Then we have the reference data types. Tell me one example for a reference type. You already know about reference. One type is string. String is a reference type variable. Right. Now, mainly we'll see what are the differences between this primitive versus the reference. Therefore, primitive data types has a defined size and defined value range. Therefore, now these were defined as primitive because we can store values directly in the storage. Therefore, we have specific type of the values, and then we could store value directly in the storage. Right now, we have already discussed byte. Byte is a 1 byte variable, or we can have 8-bit size required per byte in order to store a byte variable, and then byte can hold. Okay, we discussed the range as well. Can I store 150 inside a byte variable? Can I store 150 inside a byte variable? Yes or no?
No, no.
No, we can't because we said that byte is a 1 byte variable, and then you can hold only from minus 128 to plus 127. Therefore, byte we use us to store small whole numbers. Now, ranging from minus 128 to plus 127. And then we have the short data type. Then short is ideal for medium-sized whole numbers. Right now, we could like the short variable contains like 2 bytes, that means 16 bits, and the short variable can hold from minus 32,768 to plus 32,767. You don't have to remember the range, but remember byte is a 1 byte variable and short is a 2 byte variable. Now inside the byte, short, int, long, we can only store whole numbers. And then we have the integers. Now integer data type we use for larger whole numbers, right? In generally, for every number we use most of the time, we deal with the integers, right? Then integer has a very broad range, right? Then I will show you in the later, right? And the long data type is used to handle very large numbers, very large whole numbers, and that long variable can also hold uh, a very large range beyond the integer range. Right. Now that's how we can use the long numbers. Right. Now we have already discussed about this, and then let me show you that. We have the primitive data types and the reference data types, and we have the integers, so the whole numbers we have, whole number types. Under that, we have byte can hold from minus 128 to plus 127. The short is a 2 bytes or 16 bits. It can hold from this range. And integer is 4 bytes variable. 4 bytes require 4 bytes space from the memory. That is 32 bits, and it has a larger range. And when it comes to long variable, long is like you can say 8 bytes. That means 64 bits required in order to store a long variable, and it has a very large range. Whole numbers you can store inside the long variable. Right. Now that's about the whole numbers. Like if you want to store whole numbers as a primitive data type, we have byte, short, int, long. Then byte can hold only very small numbers, short can hold like medium range, integer can store a large range, long variable can hold very large range. Right, thereafter, we have been discussing this. Right, and then we got the answer. Okay, what was the answer we got? Like, I think you all did this one, right? Is it? Okay, tell me how to do this one. Tell me how to write this code quickly in order to get this thing done. Hello, you all can hear me, right? Because we have done these things, and then I'm just uh, recapturing these things what we have discussed quickly. Can you help me on this quickly? How to write a Java class in order to do this? I hope you can hear me, right? How to write a Java class today. You all have done this one last week, no? Okay, how to write a Java class to print hello world? How to start writing a Java class? Can someone please speak up?
class,
Okay, we have to start with the class keyword. Okay, class. Sorry.
and the class name, first letter in capital,
Yes, very good, very good. Exactly. Class name.
and inside the curly bracket, public
We have defined the
static
main method. Yes, main method has public, static.
static void name,
Okay.
and
Inside this,
string.
we need to pass an array. Yes, string arrays. Okay, that is for the arguments. Right.
Then to print hello world,
Yeah.
system
Okay.
dot
Now,
out.
I want to get this thing done. Okay, not to print the hello world. I want to calculate this. Now, from this program, I want to calculate how many cubic inches contained in a cube, which is 1 mile, 1 mile, 1 mile. How can you do that? We have some variables right now. We'll have integer variable called inches per foot. Inches per foot. What is it? Integer per foot is 12. And then feet in a mile. Feet per mile, FPM is equals 5,280. Therefore, now we can calculate integer inches per mile is equals 12 into 5,280. Okay, what do you think? Can an integer variable hold 5,280 into 12? Can the integer variable hold 5,280 into 12? What is the 5,280 into 12? 63,360. 63,360. Okay. Integer can hold that, right? For sure. Integer range is from this much, no? Right. Right. Then, yes, integer can hold that. Right. Then we know inches per mile. Then we can calculate integer. Okay, now that into 3 times. We need to find the area of a cube, no? Right. Therefore, I'm going to write the answer going to be, okay. Okay, I know it's going to be a long answer. Therefore, I'm going to get a variable called long answer is equals to IPM multiplied by IPM multiplied by IPM. I'm going to write system.out.println. There are base answer cubic inches in the cubic word. Right, let me save this one. Oh no, I have saved as a ex.java. Right. Okay, no worries. As a habit, let's go with the exact name. test.jar. Right. Then I need the right, the command prompt. It's inside the desktop. Then you'll be able to get the answer. Right, I would have done it like this. Right. Now you will get the answer like this. Okay, this much of cubic inches in a cubic mile. Okay, now our problem is whether is this answer is right. What do you think? Is this answer is right? Yes or no?
It's wrong, sir.
It's wrong. Okay. Right now, how can we figure it out now? Now this must be what we have here. This we have 800,000, and then we have millions, and then we have 1 billion. No, here 1 billion. 1 billions. Okay, 1 billion. Yes, we have. Right. 500 million, 507 millions. 1 billion and 507 millions. Number we have. Right. Okay, now is this answer right or wrong? We don't know actually. Okay, why? Okay, let's try out. Now I'm gonna do a small change here. This into a long variable. This one into a long variable. And then now I'm gonna try the same thing. Now I got a totally different answer. Right now. Okay, now how many numbers are here now? Thousands. Yeah, this thousands and then millions and the billions and the trillions. Yes. We have 254 trillions answer now. Trillions answer, if I am correct. Then, okay, why? Now you can see the difference. Right now, the value difference here, this and this. Okay. The value difference. Right now, why? Why I have lost this answer? Now the question is why we have lost this answer? Now we have lost a very large number. Right? Now why? What's the reason? Now that is because now we have to remember that. Okay, now I'm going to talk about very simple mathematics. If you multiply a plus with a plus, what is it? Plus with plus. In simple mathematics, plus with plus,
Yes.
plus. And then we have like plus into minus. If you multiply and divide, multiply or divide, plus with plus, it is a plus answer. Plus with minus, it is a
Minus.
minus answer. If it is a minus with plus,
Minus.
it is a minus answer. If it is minus and minus,
Plus.
plus answer. Likewise, now we know that. Likewise, if you multiply integer by an integer, if you multiply integer by an integer, that would be an integer. If you divide integer by integer, that would be an integer. Therefore, keep that in your mind. Integer into an integer will always give you an integer. Integer into, integer divided by an integer will always give you an integer. Right. Now, in order to get this thing very clear, right. Now, let me show you. Now, we'll have this as an integer variable, and then we'll print that. Sorry. Right now, let's print IPM. Right now, I'm gonna show the I now. Only difference was when we changed the inches per mile answer into a long variable, then only we got this answer. No? Right. Therefore, now I'm going to show you what is the IPM variable whole. Right now, if you run this, okay, run this. Now you can see both integer IPM variable or the long IPM variable, it doesn't matter. Now both holds the same value. Now only thing happens at this point because of the type. If it is an integer into an integer into an integer, we'll always give you an integer. Therefore, the value integer can hold will be this. That's why we got a lesser value. But when you multiply long into long into long, would be a long answer. That's why we are getting a long answer. Right now, that is how we get this thing done. Okay, now, right, what I want you to do is try to do the division of two integer values. Have two variables, 5 and 2, and then divide 5 and 2. And then when you divide 5 and 2, it should be 2.5. No? Okay, let's try out dividing 5 and 2. And tell me what's going to be the answer you're going to get quickly. Take two numbers, okay, define two variables, two integers, and then do the division. Right. Then, okay, now you can see here I have two integer variables x and y. When I try to divide 5 divided by 2, I got the answer like 2 as the answer. But why I'm not getting 2.5? That is because of when you divide an integer by an integer, you know, integer divided by an integer is an integer. Therefore, 5 divided by 2 again gives you an integer value which is 2. Right. Now that is about whole numbers when it comes to Java. That means byte short int low. Right. Now, okay, one more thing. If you want to declare a variable, right, as a long number, now this is how you can do it. If it is a byte variable, let's say we have to declare byte variable byte b. Now you can have 120. Doesn't matter. And then you could just print the byte variable. Right. And then if you want to declare short variable, you can have the short variable. And then if you have an integer variable, and if I want a long variable, I could do it here. Now you can see here, when you try to store, now here when you are trying to do integer, a byte, short, int, no errors. But when you try to store a long variable, now it's a for the long variable L, when you say integer number is too large. When you get saying integer number too large. Therefore, if you want to define this as a long variable, then you need to declare it as an L. If you declare this as a L, then you are defining it as a long variable value. This is how you declare the variables. Right. Okay. Try this one as well. Right. Okay, then we know how to declare the variables. Right, fine. Now let's go into the floating point types. Okay, any questions up to now? If you have any questions, please tell me.
Sir,
Yes,
hello. Yeah. So when you did that, when you divided the 5 by 2 and you got 2, but
I can't hear you. Can you speak a little bit louder, Pute? Because I'm using the laptop speaker and then I can't hear you loudly.
how do you get the correct answer when you divide 5 by 2?
Okay, yes. I'm going into that. Like now, if
Okay,
you
sorry.
like, what do you mean by the correct answer? 2.5,
2.5, yes.
is it?
Yes.
Okay, then if you want to get the 2.5 answer, then you have to divide integer by a float, then you will get the answer.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Right. Okay. Anyway, just give me a few minutes and then I'll come into that. Right.
Okay.
Now, okay. Now we have done. Okay. Mainly, what you have to understand at this point is when you multiply two integers, the answer would be an integer. Even though it doesn't matter where you're going to store it. If you can remember previously, we have stored the answer inside a long variable. Now here we are. Let's say now here we are storing the answer in the long variable. Let's say now we have integer into integer into integer. Let's say I is an integer. Now this would be, now the variable x is a long variable. Now, okay, now there's a small rule you have to remember. Now this is what you call as the assignment operator. Right, now, okay, let's try out. Now here, okay, now we have, add, right. Now we have the byte variable. Now I'm gonna try this. Now thereafter, now here, these are the byte variable. Now I'm gonna try storing. I have these variables. Right, then I'm gonna try storing the byte variable value inside the short variable. Right, now let's try to store byte variable. Okay, short variable is S, no? S is equals to B. S is equals to B. That means what I'm gonna do, the value of 120, the value of the byte variable, I'm going to store inside the short variable. Now, let's try out what's going to happen. Okay, now I'm going to print the short variable. Yes. Okay. We have 70%. Good. Right. Then you will see without any problem, it got 120 as the answer. Right. Okay, let's say this is the short variable. Now, short variable also has the value of 120. Short variable, I have declared the short variable value as 120. Now, can we store 120 inside a byte variable? Yes or no? Can we store 120 inside a byte variable?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Let me remove the byte variable value as well. Now, there's a variable byte and short variable contains 120. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign to the byte variable the value of the short variable. Because we know that 120 is possible. We could put inside the byte variable. But now when I try to do this, now I will get an error saying what? Incompatible types. Incompatible types possible loosey conversion from short to byte. Because why? Even though the value, we know the value. For sure, value is 120. 120 can be stored inside the byte variable. No worries. But the problem here is, now the compiler doesn't know what is the value. The compiler assumes, okay, this is a short variable value. If it is a short variable, right now short variable value cannot hold inside the byte variable because compiler doesn't know the value stored inside the short variable. Therefore, it just gives us an error saying incompatible type error because the possible loosey conversion from short to byte. Now that's why we get an error here, because even though the value wise short contains very small, like 120. Now short variable contains 120. See, short variable contains 120, but we really know that yes, that is possible, but that has not happened. Why it is not happened? That is due to automatic type conversion. Because in Java, there is something called automatic type conversion. In order to happen the automatic type conversion, now when it is the other way around, this happens. Now when I say short is equal s equals b, and if I have value for the byte variable, let's say 10, and if I store the byte variable value inside the short variable now, for the short variable, I'm going to assign the byte variable value. Now, previously short contained 120, now it's going to change it to 10. Now, let me show you. Now, yes, I'm going to print now, yes. Now you can see it gives me 10 as the answer. Why it gives me 10 as the answer? Now that the value of the byte variable has assigned to the short variable, because I'm printing the short variable answer, short variable value. Now it gives me as a 10. Now that happens due to the automatic type conversion. In Java, there is something called automatic type conversion. Now automatic type conversion happens under two rules. Can anyone think what are the two rules? Right. Okay, normally this happens right when a smaller data type is assigned to a variable of a longer or a larger data type. That means in a compatible types. When the two variable types are compatible and the small data type is assigned to a variable of a longer data type, this automatic type conversion happens. Or else, in other terms, we call this as a widening conversion. Therefore, any data type can be widened to a data type to the right. Any data type, if the two data types are compatible, any data type can be widened to a data type to the right on the assignment. Now here you can see here, now byte b equals 10, short s equals 120. Now what I'm doing is s equals b. Now what I'm doing, value of the variable b, value of the byte variable assigned to the variable s, which is short. Therefore now when I try to do this, now you can see this byte variable has a byte and short are compatible types, because byte is compared to the short, byte is 1 byte variable, short is a 2 byte variable. Therefore, byte is smaller than the short variable. Therefore, and both used to store whole numbers. Therefore, compatible types. Therefore, since the two variable types are compatible and the destination is larger than the source. Yes, source variable is byte. The value of the variable we concern is the byte. Byte is going to assign into a short variable. Therefore, now the destination is short. Therefore, destination is larger than the source. Yes, the short variable is larger than the byte variable type. Therefore, automatic type conversion happen, and then this value become this value become this value, the variable s anyway it's short, therefore it get converted to a short variable type. Now this get converted to a short variable type. Okay, quickly try out. Now try to do integer and long, whether the same thing happen. whether we can get this. Then I had to use the wrapper classes. Yes. Okay, I'm not gonna make it much complex. Right now, okay, what I wanted you to try this is okay, we have integer and the long variable, and let's say integer contains the long variable contains integer contains 10 and integer contains 10. I wanted to put that inside the long variable L. Right now, when I say L value is equals to I, that means what I'm doing, the value of the integer to assign into the long variable, and I'm going to print the L variable value. Therefore, when I try this, it will print it like 10. Yes, it's possible. What happened? Integer value 10 is assigned to the long variable type. Therefore, automatic type conversion or the widening conversion happens here because integer and long are compatible types. Then the destination, the long is larger than the integer. Therefore, the automatically type get converted to a long. Therefore, now the type got converted to a long. If you try to do the vice, the other way around, right now for the integer variable, if you try to assign the long variable value, now you know it's 10, just 10, then it is possible. But the thing is, now when you try to do this, now it will give us an error saying, okay, now possible lossy conversion from integer to long. Possible lossy conversion from long to integer, because you are trying to store a long variable value into an integer variable. Therefore, you cannot do that because long and integer, like the when you compare long and integer, long is larger than integer. Therefore, here the automatic type conversion doesn't happen because here we are trying to store long value into a integer variable, which is a small. Therefore, automatic type conversion does not happen. Therefore, we get an error, incompatible type error. Right now, that is about automatic type conversion. Right now, this is the reason when you are multiplying integer into integer, then that would be an integer, even though if I have that answer is inside the integer variable or long variable, at the end, like in the previous example, will I be able to get back to that? No. Right, what was the answer? Inches per mile is equal to 12 into 5,280. And the answer was, we had the long answer even. Long answer is equals to IPM into IPM. Now, even though this one, what has happened is we got a small answer because IPM is an integer answer. IPM into IPM will give you an integer value. That integer value is assigned into a long variable. Therefore, automatic type conversion happen. That's why here we got the less answer. Let me show you again. Right, now we got the less answer here. But when this become a long variable, now you know what is happening. Now, 12 into 5,280 gives you 60,000 something. And therefore, now you can see the difference because here the answer stored as in the long variable type. Therefore, long into long is a long variable. Long. And then that answer stored inside the long variable. No worries. Therefore, you will have without losing a value, you will have the exact answer. But when this is declared as an integer, now you know 12 into 5,280 is an integer value, then integer into integer is an integer, that into integer is an integer. Integer value is assigned to a long variable. At the end, it gets converted to a long type, but you are losing the value when you end up with this number. Right, now that is the reason. Is that clear, everyone? Have I made you more confused, or is it clear? Did I make you more confused, or is it clear? Is this clear to you all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right, very good. Right, now we are going into the floating types. Right, now let's declare two float variables. One is 5 and the other one is 2, and get the division of, get the multiple. Okay, now, right. Okay, beforehand, quickly declare two integer variables and perform addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and print the answers quickly. Let's declare x and y and assign it to integer sum equals x plus y, integer difference equals x minus y, integer product equals x into y, integer ratio equals x divided by, likewise have some variables, and then do the plus minus and division multiplication operations there, and then display print the values quickly. And then once you finish, do the same thing with two float variables and do the same. Right, then what I wanted you to do is integer x equals 10. And if you declare the same type variables, you could separate by comma, and then you could do it like this. And if you want to declare the variables also, you could do it like this: sum, difference, product, multiplication, and the division. And you can say sum equals x plus y, difference is equals to Now do the same for two. Declare two float variables and then try to do the same. Now you can see the addition of two integers and as integer variable, the subtraction of two integer variables are integer, product of two integer variable is an integer, division of two integer variable is an integer. 10 divided by 3, you get 3. Okay, quickly do it for the float variables. Right? Then, if it is a float variable, right now, let's say I'm gonna change this into a float variable, and then, but the resulting, okay, let's say now integer, x and y are integers, and sum, difference, multiplication, division are float now. Now let's try out what's gonna happen. Now you can see, instead of ratio is 3, but now when you, all the values now contains 0.0. Because x and y are integers, then Integer plus integer is an integer. Then you assign into a float variable. Integer to a float. Now that means what? Widening conversion has happened. That means integer is a 4-byte variable, float also 4-byte variable. Then integer value, whole number to a decimal value, floating point number. Conversion has happened and the type of the variable has converted to a float. That's why here we have 13.0, 7.0, 30.0, 3.0. But you can see here it has not 3.333. It is just 3.0 because conversion is an integer. X divided by is an integer value. Integer divided by an integer is an integer. Integer stored into a float variable. Then automatic type conversion has happened. Integer to float. But if it is the other way around, if this is integer and if this is float, now you can see incompatible. Float to integer is not compatible. Why? Floating point. You know that it may contain decimal values. Therefore, if you try to store a decimal value to an integer, therefore integer cannot hold the decimal value. Therefore, yes, that won't happen. Then incompatible types. Remember, integer to float is compatible. Whole number to a floating point compatible. But float to integer is incompatible. Why? A decimal value to a whole number, then you're going to lose the decimal. Therefore, it is incompatible. Right. Now, my question is to do it with the float variables right now. Float. Now, when you do the things like you can see, now the float x and float y, therefore 10.0 plus 3.0 is 13.0 because it's a float. And the difference and multiplication and the ratio also gives us 3.3333 because float value divided by float. Right, now this is how you try out this. Okay, try out. Try to store. Now we have stored 10 as a float variable. No? Try to store 10.5 and y also decimal value. For the x and y variables, try to assign a decimal values rather assigning the whole numbers. Try.
Look at the chart. Look what I'm here. Fine, okay, go to okay.
Okay, do you have any idea now? I have stored x equals 10.5 and y equals 3.3. Obviously, those are float numbers, right? Floating point values. Okay, how can I assign now? It seems it is not allowing me to do it. Now, what the error says? Lose the conversion from double to float. Okay, now 10.5 has taken as a double then. Okay, if you want to define this as a float value, then you have to put f, append f at the end. Then you're going to say this, okay, this is a float value. You could try that. Then it will be give you the answer. Right. Right now, okay, now let's see the float and the double. Okay, if it is a double variable, right. Okay, let's try this as well. Okay, change the data type into a double. And let's see. Okay, if it is a, okay, now here if it is a double, and if it is a float, what do you think? Will the widening conversion will happen? Try out and tell me whether the widening conversion is happening for the float to double.
Error, sir.
That means float to double also does not happen, is it? Float to double. Okay, let's see.
It is working. So.
Let's save this and now it has happened. Now, okay. Do you see anything? Now, what has happened? When it was a float answers, this is what we had. Right? But now we have changed these variables into double. And then these were saved as a float. Now there's a capacity for the float variables and there's a capacity for the double variables as well. Now that's why here you get more decimal points when you store it as a double variable. Right now, float x and float y now get converted to now double answer, right? Double data type. Now the automatic type conversion or the widening conversion happens right now. Now you can see here these are the round up values 7.2. Now 7.1999 values we can see. Right now if it is a double, yes, no problem at all. If it is a double variable, right, you don't need to put f likewise because it taken as a, if it is a decimal point, it taken as a double variable. Therefore, you don't need it. You can simply get the answers. Right now you can see when it is the double answers, right? When it is a double variables, the answer we got. And when it is a float variable, the answer we got. And float to double, widening conversion happens. But double to float, it is not. Because double variable is larger than the float variable type. Right, now the float is a 32 bits wide variable. The double is a 64 bits wide variable. That means that float is a 4 byte variable. Double is an 8 byte variable. Float is 4 byte. Double is an 8 byte variable. Right. Okay, there is a function called, there's a, if you want to find the square root function, there's a package called math, and then from that, you could use the math.sqrt function you could use. And using the math.sqrt function, you can get the square root value. Okay, let me show you that. If it is a math.sqrt, right now. If you want, you can say math.sqrt and then sqrt give you a square root value of anything, right? If you want 100, right now, let's say we don't know what is the return type of this one. Therefore, we'll put it inside the system.out.println statement. Then we'll be able to see the return type as math.sqrt 100. When I say math.sqrt 100, now you can see I'm getting the answer as 10.0. That means it returns a double value. Now here it returns the math.sqrt function is returning a double value. Right now, if you want to get the square root value of anything, right now, let's say 9.5, that is possible. If you want to get the square root of 9.5, then you'll be able to get the answer. Likewise, then using this function, using the square root function, we can get the square root value. And now the question is, when you have given a triangle, when you were at the school, right now you have found out that when it comes to a right angle triangle, if it is a right angle triangle, you can using the Pythagoras theory, right, you can calculate the length of the each side. Right now, if it says if this is x, and if this side, if we call it as the y, and if it is z, then we have already found out that x squared plus y squared is equals to z squared, that we have found out when we were learning. Then we, if you can remember, x squared plus this is squared, okay, and x squared plus y squared is equals to z squared. Therefore, Now z value can be found out. Z is equals to square root of x squared plus y squared. Therefore, using this theory, now I want you to find out the z value of a triangle when you have given the answers. Right now, let's say if x equals 6.5, if the x is equals to 6.5, and if the y is equals to 10, what is the answer of z? Okay, quickly find out and tell me. Right, what is the answer now? Right now, you need to get the x squared and the y squared value as well, right? Now, how can you get it now? Then it's easier. We know x value is 6.5 now. And you can have 6.5 multiplied by 6.5 plus. Or we can have a variable, let's say a float. X is equal 6.5 f and y is equals to 10 because it's just a number, right? And then a whole number. Then we could say x multiplied by x plus y multiplied by y. Then you can get the answer. Now you're going to get the answer. This is going to be 11.92 something. Right. This is how you calculate the square root value, or this is how you deal with the double values and the float values. Right. Now, okay, now when you have to declare the float variables, like in order to quickly go through this, you need to remember. Right now, let's say, okay, do you have any questions on this before I proceed? Any questions on this, please ask. Right, I assume no questions then. Right. Now, you know that floating point, that means we have the decimal values in this number. Right now, basically, when you have to find the square root, cubic root, likewise, then we have to work with these floating point values. Right, then there are two type of floating points, which is float and the double. And then, as you already know, float is smaller and have a lesser range, and the double has large values, and also it has very large range compared to float. Right. Then float is a 4-byte variable, in other terms 32 bits wide, and the double variable is an 8-byte variable, or 64 bits. Therefore, when it comes to float, we call it as a single precision value. Therefore, right now, float contains a single precision floating points, which is 32 bits in storage. Right now, if it is a float variable, right now, we can assign values. Right now, if you assign like this, if for the float variable, if you assign 10, if you just assign x is equals to 10, that means we are assigning a whole number to a float variable. We are assigning a whole number to a float variable. We are assigning a whole number to a float variable, then it would print as 10.0. So this get converted to a 0.0. And then when you assign 10.5, then if you assign 10.5 as a float value, 10.5 as a float value, then we'll get an error saying, therefore, we'll be getting an error because there will be error saying incompatible types, lose conversion from double to float. Right now, in the first case scenario, when we assign an integer or the whole number to a float variable, then it got converted to a float. But when you try to assign decimal value, then we got the error. Therefore, if you want to assign a value, right now, a decimal value to a float variable, you need to append f at the end to define it as a float. Then it would be 10.5 as it is. If you just assign 10, or if you assign 10f, that is also possible. That means, again, 10.0, right? A whole number you are assigning, or else if you just put 10, no worries, because you are assigning an integer number which is 10 to a float variable, then that would be treated as 10.0. Right, now, how comes? Then can I have 10 e to the power minus 3 f? Now you can see we can write the values, float values in this format as well. E to the power minus 3 means 10 divided by 10 to the power 3, right? That means 1 over 10 to the power 2, that gives you 0.01. Right? If you, without f, if you try to do it again, you will get an error. Incompatible lossy conversion from double to float. Therefore, you need to mention it as a float. Right. And If you want, you can have just e to the power 3, and then you can see 10 into 10 to the power 3, then 10,000. Likewise, you can do it. Then let me show you the range of the values as well. Float max. And then let's have the float min variable as well. Float max variable. It's gonna be 1.4 e to the power plus 38. Right now, this is the range of values we can have for the float, and the maximum value and the maximum and the minimum, the smallest value. Right now, you can have the negative float values as well that you have already discussed. We can have the negative values, and that is how we can have the float values. Now you know float and double values, and yes, right. Okay, now can you quickly verify this? If it is an integer, now you know that now uh, into float, widening conversion happens. Widening conversion happens, right? Whether can we go from integer to double, or long to double, or long to float? When you try to assign an integer value to double variable, whether is the automatic widening conversion happens or not, a long to double, long to float, whether it is happening or not. Quickly figure out and let me know. Okay, tell me, is it integer to double? Is it happening? Right now, when I try to assign integer to double, yes, now you can see, yes, integer to double, automatic white conversion, automatic type conversion, or the whitening conversion has happened for this one. And if I try from integer long to double, long to double, now when I try to do the long to double, yes, long to double has happened. Let's say long to float. Now I'm trying to assign long to float. That also has happened now. Right now, right. If I have very large number like this, what will happen? Long I. Then you have to mention it as a long variable. Let's say now long to float, long to double. If it is compatible, yes, that is happening. Right. Okay, then that is how the automatic type conversion happens. Right now, I assume you are okay with this. Right. Then we have done this. Then we have the characters. Now, before I talk about the characters, I want you to quickly go through and search from the internet what is ASCII code, what is ASCII, and what is Unicode. Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes time. Quickly figure out what is ASCII and what is Unicode. ASCII and the Unicode. Quickly figure out and tell me. My goodness, 38%. ASCII and the Unicode. What is ASCII and what is Unicode? Quickly find out and tell me. Right, now I think time is enough. Now tell me, what is an ASCII code? What is ASCII? Yes, tell me. ASCII code, what is ASCII? Anyone? Yes, no one found out ASCII.
So it's
Yes.
a character encoding standard,
Yes.
and it's used for devices that use text. Uh, it represents text in computers. And,
The symbols, yeah. It represents symbols using a code words, yes. Right. Yes, now ASCII uses, originally ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. ASCII means American Standard Code for Information Interchange. And it was a 7-bit character code where each individual bit represented unique character. Then you have 7 bits, no? Then if it is a bit, we could represent zeros or ones in a bit, no? Then 0 or 1, then 2 to the power 7 number of symbols we could map then. 2 to the power 7, right? Then you could have, then we can have 120, like 0 to 127. That means altogether 128 in the 2 to the, that means 7-bit character code can have. Thereafter, we had the extended ASCII table. Now, extended ASCII table, which is an 8-bit ASCII table with 256 characters and symbols. Therefore, it uses all the standard ASCII values and also some other set of values. Therefore, in ASCII table, right now you can see it has a unique code word, right, for the symbols and the letters, right. Now, for an example, if it is a capital A, how you declare capital A using an ASCII code? Capital A using an ASCII code? Right now, in a capital A represented in an ASCII code using, let me write, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, then 1, 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2, 2 to the power 3, 2 to the power 4, 2 to the power 5, 2 to the power 6. 64 plus 1, yes. Now this is 65. That means capital A. Now this is how we represent capital A. Right, then thereafter it goes up to capital Z, it goes, right, 90. And 90 is represented by, how can you write, 64, 0 plus 1, 16, yes. Right, now this is going to be capital Z. Right. And thereafter, again, simple A starts from, right, you have some other characters. And then simple A starts from, right, I'm not going to write the ASCII values, the bit representation of this. Simple A start from 97, now which is A. and which goes up to 97 to 97. Gonna be, let's write that as well. 97 can be represent 64 plus 32 is 96 now. Yes. Then 0 1 1 0 0 1 0 0 0 1. 64 plus 32 is 96. 96 plus 1 is 97. Yes. And now that is how you represent simple A, and then simple A to simple Z it goes. Right now, simple Z gonna be 122. And the value is gonna be 122. 96, 64 plus 32 plus 16. Right. Okay, this is how you represent the values, and thereafter we have numbers are starting from 0 to 9. Numbers are there from 48 to 57. Right, 48 to 57 we have the numbers. Right now, this is how we have the ASCII values. That means when you are referring to an ASCII value, that means we are referring to a code word in the memory, computer memory. When we say ASCII value A, now you know that we are referring to this code. Now this is why, right now, if you can remember previous, like 5 years, 6 years ago, we did not have Sinhala fonts available, right? And then because the ASCII codes were used to have only English alphabet and the numbers 1 0 to 9 numbers and some brackets and some specific symbols. For those purposes, that you can have only 127 characters too. And then you had only a specific limited number of symbols has been mapped to a code word. Now, therefore, we did not have the Sinhala letters or Tamil letters were not available. Then that's why previously we did not able to see or view those letters in your mobile phones or in the website or whatever, even if it is a Word file or if it is a document typed using a Sinhala font in like 10 years ago, maybe, if you want to open it, then you had to have the specific font style as well. Then you have to install the font into your computer, then only you can open it and see. Otherwise, you will not be able to see because that is not Unicode supported. Previously, we had only the ASCII code. ASCII code has very limited characters due to its size. Then it could map only 0 to 127 symbols. Then the Unicode invented. Unicode is Universal Character Encoding System. Universal Character Encoding System, Unicode. And Unicode come up with the 16-bit implementation. Right now, the Unicode representation of this is the same. What it was, right now, for the same thing, it has put another 8 bits. Then altogether, this become 16-bit representation. Then you can see when you have 16 bits, right now, still the ASCII codes are valid Unicode characters. 97, 65, 90. Now these are valid Unicode characters, even though it has introduced 16 bits to represent. Then 16 bits. Then 2 to the power 16 number of characters, 2 to the power 16 number of symbols we could map into a code words. Now, because of the Unicode, now the Sinhala and whatever the languages used in this world has converted into a code word. Now that's why now we can see the whatever we can send messages using Sinhala fonts because of the Unicode. Because for every character, every symbol, there's a mapped code word. Then we could try out. Therefore, now we have this Unicode supported characters. That's why we would be able to do this. And then Unicode supporting, right, 2 to the power, that means 16 bits. Therefore, we could have 2 to the power 16 number of variations. Right, then still the ASCII values are ASCII codes also valid Unicode characters. Right, then the Java uses Unicode for the characters. Java uses Unicode for the characters. Now, let's see how to work with the characters. Now, if it is a char values, if it is char. Now, in order to declare char variable, Now you know the variable type is char, char. And you can have a variable name. Let's say I'm going to name it as ch. And if you're assigning a value to the variable, if it is a character, if it's a symbol, or if it's a number, if you want to do it, you have to use the single quotes. Inside the single quotes, you could do it. See, ch. And if you print the ch, you will be able to display now A. Right now, the same way, if you want, now you know A is 65. Then if you mention just 65, now you put 65 as A. Now you know CH equals 65. 65 means what? The decimal representation of the decimal value of the Unicode representation of, or the ASCII representation of capital A. Now it gives you 65 as A. Like if you provide a 90, you know, if you provide 90, then you know you will get capital Z. And if you get 97, if you get 97, you will get simple A. If you get 122, then that you will get simple Z. If it is 47 or 48, I can't remember, 47, you will get numbers. Okay, not it's a symbol. Maybe starting from 48. The 48 is 0. And then if I try 55 or somewhere, I can say 55 is 7. Then 59. Semicolon. Then 58. You can see colon. And 57. You get 9. Right, likewise, you have some symbols, letters, and the symbols, letters, and the numbers converted to a code words, and then those code words are mapped into ASCII or the universal Unicode. And then Java uses Unicode in characters. Now, if you want to declare, if you want to assign a value, then let's say now here, if you have integer I equals 55 or 68. And if you want, you can have ch equals I. Now, you can see here, you get an error, incompatible loosey conversion from integer to char, because I contains 68, but when you try to convert into a char, now that is not possible. Right, now let me check whether if it is a byte variable. Byte I equals 68. Now, when I try to do it, now you can again say possible loosey conversion from byte to char, because even though I can do it, right? Now we'll see why we cannot later on. But if you just assign 68, you will see you will get a respective answer. Right, likewise you could assign. And then why we cannot assign byte to char or integer to char? Because those are not compatible types, incompatible types. Then if you have incompatible types, there's something you could do that you call as a casting. We will discuss that later on. Now this is how you deal with the characters. Right, either you can, if you are assigning a value, remember you need to use a single quotes. Now if you are assigning a value to the character, then even if it is a number, you could do it. See? If you put 9, right now, then you will be able to do it like this. But anyway, remember, if it is a character, you need to put the single quotes. Okay, quickly try out. right? Okay, then we could try these ones and then see what happens now when you try this code. Right. Then we can go to, like we have discussed about integers, floats, doubles, and then char, and then the rest we have is the Boolean. Any questions up to now? Please ask. Right, no questions, is it? Okay, the Boolean data type. Now, Boolean type represent either true or false. Then, therefore, now not like remember that 0 means not true or 0 means not false. Like 0 and 1 are totally different things, and true false are totally different things. Therefore, don't confuse it. 1 means true or 0 means false. No, it's not. Therefore, true and false are the Boolean values. Boolean variables can only contain either true or the false. Boolean values can only contain two things, either true or false values. Therefore, now in order to declare a Boolean variable, you could try like this. Now, okay, let's say you don't know about this. All right. Let's say we have Boolean variable, Boolean flag. Let's say variable name is flag. I can have true, and then I can display the flag. Then I can set the flag as false. And then I can again display the flag. Right. Now I can have the true and the false values. This is how you print the Boolean values, Boolean true or Boolean false. Therefore, only we can have true or false values in a Boolean variable. You can't have any other value. Right. Now we have discussed all the primitive data types available in Java. Okay, right. Quickly try this one as well. Right. Then, okay. All right. Okay. Quickly do this question and send me the answer via chat, please, before we go into the rest. Okay, finish. How to do this one? Can someone tell me? Right now, okay, send me the answer, please. How can you do this? Now it says sound travel approximately 1100 feet per second through air. Then knowing the interval between the time you see a lightning bolt and time the sound reaches you, enable you to compute the distance to the lightning. And assume that the time interval is 7.2 seconds. That means after you, okay, right, I got a one answer. Right, now let's try this one. Right, let's copy it into Notepad. Distance equals right now what is the question? Sound travels approximately 1100 feet per second. Speed of the 1100 feet per second. And the time interval is 7.2 seconds, therefore 7.2 into 1100. The lightning strike is feet away, right? Okay, let's see. 18% is 7,920 feet away from the lightning strike happen. Right. Right. Then, before we go into this, right, okay, what is this? Right, thank you. Okay. Then let's see about the reference data type pairs. And now we have been talking all the time about the primitive data types. Therefore, now let's see about reference data types as well. Right. Now, string is a reference data type. Now, if you want to declare a string variable, this is how you do it. Now, if you want to declare a string variable, the string variable, let's say name is string name. If you want to assign a value, then let's say John Smith. And if you want, you can print the value of the string variable. Now, there is a difference between a string variable and the string means the reference data type, and the previously we talked about integers, integer types, float, double, sharp, boolean. Those are primitive data types. Now, here the difference is when it comes to primitive data types, now those store directly the values, and then here we are using the references. Now here, when it comes to the reference data types, we are using the references to access the value. Right, okay, now quickly try out this. How to assign a string value. Right. Now I will show you one more example as well. Okay, that not today. Okay. Now creating a class and making a reference variable. Now for the time being, just assume right now the reference data type means we are referring to some particular type and we are creating an object from the whatever the referred data type. Now string is a now when you create a string variable, that means we are creating a reference data type and then string variables. Right? Do we have a limit for the string variable? What are the things you could store in the string variable? Okay, then there is no such limit for the string variables. Therefore, you could because it saves as an object, and then string variable can have any even you can have numbers, but you have to store it as a form of text. You can have letters, you can have words. Likewise, you can have very lengthy expressions as well when it comes to string variable. But you know, for the character variables, there's a defined size. There is only one character at a time you can hold. Likewise, we have defined sizes. Likewise, because when it comes to primitive, basically primitive data types has a defined size and defined set of values. Now, reference data types is not like that. Then here, you can have any value stored inside the string variable in a text form of the text. Right. If you are declaring a string variable, remember in Java, you need to use double quotes to define it as a text. That's how you define it as a text value. You have to put a double quotes. Right. Now, when you're using the string variables and if you use the plus operator, let's say now you have John and what will happen? The string F name and we have string L name. L name is the last name. And then I'm gonna print F name plus L name. I'm gonna print F name plus L name. Now you can see here, without any spaces, it will just display John and Smith. Because if you use the plus operator with a string variable, remember, if you use the plus operator with a string, it will do the concatenation. It will do the concatenation. In other words, it will append the values. It will append the values. It will append the string values. Therefore, the first value of the F name and L name will be merged now when you use the plus operator. Right here, if you want to have space even here, then you can have another string mentioned like this and you can combine it using a plus operator. See, using a plus operator, we could do it like this. Then what will happen? F name plus space L name. And if you want to have something here, my name is, then again you can type whatever you want to print. Name is, and then you have to combine it using the plus. Name is John Smith. Likewise, it would print. This is how you deal with the string variables. Right. Okay. Any questions up to now, please ask. Right now, anyway, still the power has not restored the power supply, and then I'm running out of my laptop battery even. We have only 13% remaining, and then it would shut down by in no time now. Right. Okay. Right. Any questions you have, please ask now. If you have any questions, please ask. And also, I will send that WhatsApp message in the group about the Poe Day class. If you are okay, vote for it. And then we can have a rescheduled class for the missed day. Right? Again.